Welcome back. Got some breaking news for you now from the High Court. Let's get straight to GB News' Homeland Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, what's the latest?
Well, Martin, a very significant development. The judge here at the High Court has just ruled that Epping Forest District Council can be granted an injunction blocking the use of the Bell Hotel in Epping for use as an asylum seeker hotel. I'll just confirm that Epping Forest District Council granted a temporary High Court injunction blocking asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping. This is seismic. It is a very significant decision. It flies against many of the decisions that we were talking about earlier, Martin, when injunctions were sought by a number of local authorities back in 2022, and all but one were denied, and the one that was granted was only because it was in a seaside resort right down on the seafront. But now this judge has granted a temporary injunction, so that means so many hotels that own the Bell Hotel in Epping will have 14 days to get those asylum seekers out of that hotel. The people, of course, in the local community will be absolutely delighted by this news. It is a vindication of the protests that have been taking place there so long. On occasions in recent weeks, of course, we've seen a more unsavoury element descending into some low-level violence, but actually, for the most part, these protests have been very peaceful, have been attended by mothers, children, other people in the community, very concerned about criminality that has been linked to the Bell Hotel in Epping. The judge has clearly taken all of that into account as he has now ruled in favour of Epping Forest District Council and granted this injunction that means that for the time being at least this hotel cannot be used to house asylum seekers. Perhaps the Home Office had a sixth sense. Perhaps they got wind of the fact that this was going to rule in the favour of the local district council. Whatever the reason, it seems it was without a doubt a farcical last-minute intervention by the Home Office trying to persuade the judge to accept extra evidence from them because of the wider ramifications of any decision he handed down today. Well, that judge dismissed that application, that last-minute intervention by the Home Office lawyers. He said he was not going to impact the court time that would have required to hear all of that new evidence on behalf of the Home Office. But there's no doubt, Martin, this will have wider ramifications, and the Home Office said it themselves. In fact, they said to the judge, as part of their efforts to try to get the judge to allow them to be heard at this hearing, they said they believed that actually granting this injunction would give impetus to more in the way of violent protests, perhaps a bit melodramatic, but that was what the KC for the Home Office was arguing to the judge. The judge was not swayed by that, granting, as I say, this injunction on behalf of the district.
Mark White, I think we're expecting a statement outside that High Court soon, but just to repeat, I don't think we can overestimate the significance of this, not just for Epping, but for the entire nation. We've seen asylum hotel protests breaking out all across the nation. Everybody watching this now, Mark White, will think people power works. Peaceful protest works. At last, the lawmakers are listening to the great British electorate.
Yeah, and I think there'll be some anger as well at the comments that I just mentioned there from the KC on behalf of the Home Office to suggest that actually what was going to be the net result of a decision to grant this injunction would be more violent protests rather than actually people feeling empowered to carry out more peaceful protests that we've seen in many hotels right across the country. Violence has been the very least of it. There have been many of these protests that have taken place. We saw them, of course, a few years ago when there were protests taking place that then kind of died down. But then in recent months, when we've seen issues of criminality, some really concerning cases that have been linked to migrant hotels, that has really galvanised the public across the country to feel that they don't want to see not just migrant hotels, but of course the new tactic that the Home Office has embarked on of trying to disperse migrants right into the heart of communities up and down the country, into the likes of houses of multiple occupation. People don't want to see that either. What they want to see is either the boats being stopped or the migrants actually being housed in specially built camps that they can be held in away from communities. That's what this popular revolt has been about outside migrant hotels right up and down the country. And yes, you're right, Martin, people will be buoyed, there is no doubt, by this decision handed down here at the Royal Courts of Justice today, granting that injunction, meaning that within 2 weeks, those migrants who have been at the centre of such concern and anger in that community in Essex will have to vacate that premises. The government will then have to find another location for those migrants to be housed in the interim.
And Mark White, you raise an excellent point there, because of course this won't stem the flow, this won't smash the gangs, it won't stop the boats, it will merely mean the government could probably claim this as a victory, as part of their stated policy directive to close down asylum hotels, to, quote, end asylum hotels in this governmental term. They can say, well, this is a victory. But now, Mark White, you're absolutely right, they'll be shifted into houses of multiple occupancy, perhaps in the hearts of the same very communities.
Well, absolutely, and of course we saw, just recently down in Hampshire with that successful campaign, again, People Power, in operation in Waterlooville, where the public there managed to get a reversal on Home Office policy to use flats in the town to house migrants. So I think there's no doubt wherever these asylum seekers go, wherever the Home Office decides is the appropriate location, if it's within communities, people are going to object to that. They want to see migrants who have come over to the